you are. Ready to revisit the past? Time to go. Good. The architect of the vault has taken it.
Time to up the stakes.
This is the key to a crucible that stretches the sanity of the mind. Long day.
Stars of flare. Stalk and hunt. Target terrorists. Stalk and hunt. Now, get ready for your challenge for the next round.
Hello and welcome back. We have here for Settlers League Summon Raging Spirits of Enormity in an attack build, not a minion instability build. And well, it's been a minute since my last video, right? Beginning of Necropolis League, and then we're like over a month into Settlers. look, I got work, I got alcoholism, there's a fucking woman, and then Necropolis League just kind of sucked. So, you know. Had a lot of fun with Settlers League, and I wasn't really expecting to make more videos anytime soon, but I liked this build a lot, and I've squeezed in the time to go ahead and record it now. So this build, I really just wanted to see if Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity can be good in an attack build without using Replica Midnight Bargain. I don't want to bring it up, but if you look it up, it makes sense why it's usable, but it doesn't quite have as much potential as what I've put together here. And what really brought it together was the Squire is cheap as hell this league again. So anytime the Squire is cheap, let's do it. And the Squire, famously not very strong defensively of a shield, so you know, no life rolls on it, so that leads naturally to an opportunity to maybe use a Tool's Hunger if there's some other synergy to be found there. And yes, there is, because Ashes of the Stars is also really good here. And the reason for that, well, let's look at the gem. Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity. First big problem is going to be maximum 6 Raging Spirits. Of course, the regular gem has 20, so that's only 30% as many Raging Boys, and you know, we're going to need something to make up that difference, right? The other benefit is 90% more max life. That doesn't really matter for us. That's good for minion instability. But then, of course, they have hits always crit. And then their quality also grants crit multiplier, 2% multiplier per quality. And Ashes of the Stars, you don't need one with 30%, but I went ahead and bought one. Ashes of the Stars, really strong with this particular gem. So let's go for it. We already got 2 good reasons to go Tooless Hunger, and let's just take full advantage of that. I'll go over the rest of the gear quickly here, but the Squire, you need extra links to really take advantage of the Squire. You got to do something that kind of breaks the rules. That's what the Squire is good for, letting you break some rules. And we're doing that with a multi-link weapon. The Recombinator has made multi-link weapons a little easier to get this league, both to craft yourself or just buy them if you can find a good one. I bought this one for 15 divine. But a little story about that. I didn't notice when I bought it that it had life on kill, which is a life modifier, and that breaks a Tooless Hunger. Just one stupid little mod that does nothing for our build anyway. So life on kill. If you find a weapon like this, just keep this in mind. It does not have an attack tag on it, and all the good mods on here that we want, there's 3 of them. There's Ruthless, crit damage, 40% more attack damage. So this is basically a 9-link weapon combined with Squire. Those all 3 have attack modifiers. So I had to go to the crafting bench. On top of the 15 divines, I already spent attack. Where's it at here? Cannot roll attack modifiers. You slap this on the weapon, 1 divine per craft. And then you can either scour or annul. I should have actually scoured now that I think about it, but I annulled and ended up having to spend another 4 divines because I just got super unlucky 3 times in a row. So anyway, 19 divines is still pretty cheap for getting a 3-link multi-link weapon. This build is totally doable with just 2 links, and you can probably find one or craft one yourself for pretty cheap. So if you want to give this a try or something similar, you know, 2 extra links is still an 8-link. That's still breaking the rules. That's still going to give you some nice damage. 3 links is going to start to get pretty expensive. I'll talk about that more and what I have prepared for my next project. And also getting a lot harder to craft. So you can expect to spend, you know, 20 or more divines just to buy or to craft your own. So anyway, one little thing that happens, and this is still talking about a difference with Raging Spirit. Summon Raging Spirit is already kind of an expensive spell, and whenever you start adding more links, if it's a 7, 8, or 9 link, in this case it's more like an 8 link, because that one that says socketed skills deal 40% more attack damage, that doesn't have a mana multiplier. So this has the cost of an 8 link spell, which if I go ahead and cast that, you will see that is all of my mana, right? However, you may notice where'd I at? We got 6 of them, and we got 6 of them with 1 button, and that's because of Unleash. So regular Unleash caps out at 3 seals. You need Awakened Unleash at level 5, a level 5 Awakened Unleash. This one has quality, which cranks up the price, but you can see that you can probably get, you don't really care about the quality, you can probably get one for even cheaper than this, but it's not an expensive gem as far as the Awakened gems go. So that brings us up to 4 seals, and with this Caster Mastery right here, you get another +1 Unleash seal. So that lets us summon 6 Raging Spirits. Our maximum is 6 anyway. We just need enough mana to cast it, and then for that mana to be back about the same time that our seals come back, and for all of that to happen within 4 seconds. And then the build just happens to work perfectly, as long as you have mana regen. There are cases where you might have less mana regen, or you're doing a no mana or a cannot regen map. In any kind of situations like that, I do carry around one of these enduring mana flasks just because there's not a lot of other good flasks to use anyway. This slot's pretty open, so that's no real cost to just bring one of these around for some convenience. And I still hate doing cannot regen maps. I haven't even put a suffix on this flask. That's really the bare minimum of what's necessary, and that's more than enough mana to always have what you need. And it's got a good duration too when it's at 20% quality. What is that, 7 seconds? Yeah, no problem at all there. Mana flasks are extremely charge efficient. So that means we pretty much we always easily have all the Raging Spirits we want, and we can ensure that they are, quote, summoned recently, because it's in the past 4 seconds. So we can take advantage of something like Call to the Slaughter and Renewal. Is that the name of it? No, it's Blessed Rebirth. Yeah, minions created recently cannot be damaged. So all that comes together. By the way, the total duration of the Raging Spirits, I don't even see where it's at in this huge paragraph. It's, yeah, right at the top, 10.7 seconds. So one other thing that I like to do that I've done before with kind of a similar setup was take advantage of fresh meat support, but not going to work here because that total duration is too short. But still able to take advantage of everything else. So they're going to move super fast. If you go back and watch the gameplay, you see like they just zoom right to the enemies. So, and making sure that you have good minion speed is important in this build. You don't need to stack and stack and stack it, but you want to make sure you have a good strong amount. A couple of Call to the Slaughters, and well, let's see, yeah, on the helmet I went ahead and kept it when I got the minion speed, and there's a couple other sources, and now they're super fast. Anyway, so Raging Spirits having always critting enables another great scaling vector, and that's going to be with Crit Multiplier. So normally you need to stack a lot of crit chance for Crit Multiplier to be good, and then Crit Multiplier is always coming across as a very strong stat, but keep in mind that it is additive. It is additive just like increased minion damage. You know, each additional point of Crit Multiplier you stack is going to grant a little less than the last. But here's what's important, is that it's a totally separate pile from your other additive increases. So increased attack speed and increased damage, all three of those have their own diminishing returns that they reach separately. So you can spread that out, hit less diminishing returns, and your investment allows for a lot more potential that way. And so one thing I'll point out, since crit chance does nothing, since we always have crit, we don't actually take Fearsome Force, even though there's some crit multi here. Like these two small nodes both give crit multi, and the large node also only gives 20 crit multi. The 60% crit chance does nothing, so we can skip this wheel. So we want to go ahead and stack a good amount of crit multi. Start with Ashes to the Stars, 30% quality. We're looking at 50% quality on the gem, and 50% times 2 means 100 crit multi right off the gem quality right away. In the multi-link weapon, if it wasn't in the multi-link weapon, you would want to use the actual gem anyway. Increased crit damage, that grants it like almost 200% crit multi. I can't remember exactly how much. And then, of course, this is a great opportunity to take full advantage of Grand Spectrum for Minion crit multi. 3 of these, and you get 30 from each for a total of 90. So we just like that have tons of crit multi on the Minion. If we pull it over to POE here, you can see we're looking at over 500% critical strike multiplier on these boys. So that's the extra scaling advantage number 1. Another thing that lets us sets the baseline for scaling damage, getting it to where we can clear out pretty much everything in the game pretty efficiently. This is over 28 million when you have the full single target setup. In mapping, of course, you can use melee splash, and got Predator here for my single target setups. The change to Hatred. The change to Hatred is actually a huge buff for this setup. A nerf for pretty much all previous applications of Hatred, but whenever you're just going to scale elemental damage, maybe you have 100% cold conversion, or in this case, Raging Spirits have 100% inherent fire conversion, and you're going to scale elemental damage, so you can include the cold, then Hatred now just grants a much higher amount of fizz gained as cold as it used to, and the percentage more cold damage wouldn't be as good in this setup. With Awakened Generosity linked to it and some aura effect. Let's see, where does it show that? With our cold, 68% conversion to cold. So I need just a little bit more to reach that nice 69% cold conversion, but we're looking at 68% of fizz gained as cold. And I guess if you don't have a level 6 awakened and a level 21 hatred, it won't be quite that high, but it'll be close, which is a very high amount. So we're looking at 161% of the physical damage already turning into elemental, split between cold and fire. On these clusters, 2 of these, same odds, going for Raise and Pillage. That's another 12% of fizz gained as fire. So we're looking at 68, set 180%. 180% of that base physical damage is turning into elemental damage split between cold and fire, mostly fire. Now, what a lot of Raging Spirit builds have done before is used the cold to fire support gem, which I did look into, but I found better damage and more room in the build for defenses, just keeping it split between elements, which allows us to also throw in Smite. And you don't need a 2120. The quality on Smite really doesn't matter because I don't even do the LE reflect maps. But Smite, it doesn't do any fizz gained as lightning. It's just flat, straight lightning, but it's still a nice chunk. In the POB, kind of impressive, really. Let me pull it up. Hatred. We can see we're gaining over 20% damage from Smite because it's linked to Awakened Generosity. For comparison, by the way, 40% from Hatred. So pretty strong for an aura there. So we're looking at 180% of our fizz becoming elemental damage. We're scaling all 3 elements. We don't care which element is being dealt, but obviously if we're going to stack any flat damage on our minions, it's going to be physical because we're getting 80% extra value out of it. So in our Darkness Enthroned, which this league I've not yet bought 100% Darkness Enthroned, I will, I like it. I do like having 100%, but regardless, it's a very tiny difference. It's just cooler to see 100%. We're going to make sure we have really good added fizz rolls on these. And then life. And you could get better damage mods. Got the movement speed on this one, which I didn't even want to buy on purpose. I was pretty lazy with these. I could really upgrade these jewels. Don't even need the taunt, for example. In this case, I did need one of them to have a high accuracy rating to the minions, just to cap off that accuracy. You want to make sure minions are at 100% chance to hit. It does make a really big difference. The taunt doesn't matter, and then chance to block helps a little bit. Not to mention that turns into 5% chance to block attack damage, which also with the mastery here turns into another 1% spell block. So that's actually not the best use of Darkness Enthroned, but point is you have a lot of options. You don't necessarily need to get the optimal DPS items. You can kind of go for defensive options instead sometimes. Anyway, I don't want to ramble too long. So we're stacking physical damage, we're stacking gem levels where we can. Got this one up to 26. That's racking up the base physical that we're scaling, and then we're turning 180% of that physical damage into elemental damage, split between fire and cold, and we're stacking on top of that some lightning as well. And so we're going to use elemental weakness for our curse, and since we're using a tool as hunger, that lets us go ahead and take advantage of profane proxy with our elemental weakness, because we are running skitterbox. We're running that in the left ring socket so that the cold or the chilling skitterbox applies it instead of the shocking. The chill would be nice for a little bit of slows here and there, but I don't find it to make a big difference myself. I'd much rather keep the shocky boy. And anyway, that lets our elemental weakness go around without having to do like hex touch or anything else, or having to hit any extra buttons. And we don't have to regret the lack of of life on this ring because we can't have a life roll anywhere anyway. And then as far as the glove and boots options, well, there's a couple of options. You could just go for gloves and boots with some nice resists, chaos resists, spell suppression, maybe if you want to try and stack some armor. I opted instead to go for the 2 anointable items, unique items. Neither of them have life rolls. The Stampede is a nice quality of life boots to wear. First off, of course, locked in 150% move speed. You're not slowed by almost anything between this and Purity of Elements. And on Breath Stealer, we get some all-res, we get some cast speed, and we get these Blighted Spores, which don't really do anything in like a boss fight where you don't get to kill any rares. But there's a lot of cases where those spores are popping up all over, and they can really make a big difference. So like in Simulacrum, or just a lot of mapping, or tier 17s where you kill one rare and you get a spore that adds an aura and helps you snowball through that. It's hard to quantify, but it certainly makes a difference. And then of course, main purpose being that we can anoint both of these. And our choices of anointment are another +2 max resists and another endurance charge. And I'll get to that. One of our Spectres is the perfect warlord. He's about 1 divine per corpse, as long as you're able to keep your Spectres from dying, which this build has kept every Spectre alive for me this entire time. He takes care of your endurance charges just fine. You can see we're at our 6 endurance charges right now. So endurance charges were buffed. I'm sure you already know. 4% elemental damage reduction per endurance charge, which is just awesome. Should have been like that forever. Makes sense that they didn't do that until they nerfed Fizz taken as LA, so it's understandable. And we got an extra node here for some more max resists. Nice reachable location, and just on the way to another endurance charge. So it all just comes together pretty obviously, like, oh, well, just anoint. And then, of course, we do need to grab Grave Pact to finish off our accuracy, and the 6% double damage is cool too. So that's kind of the whole idea behind this tree. We're grabbing the usual stuff over here. We need the extra Unleash, Minion stuff. We do need some mana regen, and the regular regen is nice, so we do go ahead and grab this here. Our Jewel Sockets, our Death Attunement is right on the way. We want 2 clusters, and those are the 2 clusters obviously on the path. And amongst those clusters we want to make sure we got Call to the Slaughter, Raise and Pillage, and then we want our mediums. You could remove one of these mediums. So the 2 important nodes are going to be Blessed Rebirth and Life from Death. You always want those on a build like Summon Raging Spirits or Skeletons. However, I opted to split those between 2 mediums in order to grab a Dread March on each. That's another 20% minion move speed. That's one reason it's important is the move speed, and another is it just makes the support minions a little tankier too. So life and PDR and chaos res. So of course we still get Jewel Sockets, and I won't say that a Megalomaniac is necessary, but it's a very nice benefit. You would want to use a small cluster instead if you can't find a good mega, just to get Spiteful Presence, get that reservation efficiency on Hatred, or else it's hard to squeeze everything in. And then whatever other decent nodes, like I'm not going to ever grab Feasting Fiends, but if you can get a second good node, then I would say that is now worth putting in the Megalomaniac. Otherwise, you might as well just go with a small cluster. Enduring Composure. I started with Enduring Composure until playing for a while with Warlord, and I realized Warlord is really good at keeping your endurance charges up pretty much 100% anyway, so I ended up dropping Enduring Composure. But you could do like a small cluster for Spiteful and a small cluster for Enduring Composure. So we are just focusing on life, and we, as a Necromancer, already get some physical damage reduction from Bone Barrier. We're going to be at our 10% all the time we need to be. Funny thing, I'm pretty sure Skitterbots counts towards the Bone Barrier. It's 1% PDR per minion you have. They're minions. It's got a minion tag on it. Pretty damn sure. Regardless, That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 13. We'd still be at cap with all 6 of our Raging Spirits anyway. And that combines with our endurance charges, 6 of them in this case, for another 24, right? Yeah, 24, 34% PDR. And when you get the 4th Spectre, I think the Turtle, Perfect Guardian Turtle is the best choice. That gets another 5% straight PDR. And then the Determination Aura also grants a bunch of armor too. We're not stacking a lot of armor, but you know, it's over 8,000. That helps a little bit with some like the shotgun situations. Anyway, I guess one other thing to point out is Impossible Escape lets you grab Charisma, and this node here that increases your max leech. So I feel like that's pretty worthwhile, but maybe not totally necessary. You can have a harder time squeezing in your auras and having the mana to cast SRS if you don't have Charisma. What would be really nice, because I've been looking into some other ways to do this build and try to squeeze in Petrified Blood, but not really any luck there. Is this the one? Yeah, Leader of the Pack. Okay. Increased reservation efficiency. It doesn't say increased mana reservation efficiency. So that affects life reservation. So if you're going to be reserving your life for an aura or something like that, this will help with that reservation efficiency. And Charisma and this node, Fierce Sovereignty, does not help with that. Or you need like Devouring Diadem. In fact, I don't know, this is a whole tirade. I'll talk about it later, not this video. But anyway, the Impossible Escape for Precise Technique is like 30 or 40 divines. It's stupid. So I could afford it, but I'm not doing it on this build. I'm trying to avoid too many duper items. Like if there's one item first worth spending that much divines on, it's getting this for your 9 link. Okay? Nothing else in this build is anywhere near that value. And I kind of, eventually maybe, but I usually try to avoid going for too many big ticket items, especially if I want to actually show off and talk about a build. It should be more easily replicated than that. It should, require so many big ticket items. Like this build is still mostly as good with a much cheaper weapon. And I think that, oh, you know what? Animate Guardian. Here it is. Kingmaker, Stitch Demon, Spore Guard, gloves with Intimidate and enough resists to cap him off, and Legacy of Fury. You want to make sure you get a max roll, 50% increased effect with Scorch. That obvious reasons. Anyway, all this helps cap out his resists, gives him some nice life. Mask of the Stitch Demon. Here's the thing about that. Necromancer change last league. Bone Barrier. Minions gain 40% of their max life as extra energy shield. That makes Mask of the Stitch Demon just fucking overpowered on Animate Guardian. Let's look at him real quick. Animate Guardian, 40,000 energy shield. That turns into 83,000 life percent. It's so stupid. Other thing to point out, Kingmaker obviously good. Spore Guard, the Fungal Ground reduces enemy elemental resists and increases the resists and chaos resist of allies while anyone is on this Fungal Ground. But it's only while the Animate Guardian is stationary. It doesn't linger at all. So whenever the Animate Guardian is attacking, he's stationary. So if you're next to a boss and your Animate Guardian is attacking the boss, and you're relatively close, you should be on the Fungal Ground. Although it doesn't affect you that much. We're not chaos resist capped, so it does help. Not that much. What's important is that while the Animate Guardian is attacking, there's Fungal Ground, and you get that benefit of neg resist on the enemy. So I find Spore Guard to be pretty good, but I wouldn't say it's the only option. You could definitely go for Garb of the Ephemeral, or a bunch of other decent chest options for the Animate Guardian. And then, Intimidate on his gloves. I think that helps. It's a nice little chunk of extra damage. So, Spectres, I think, is the last thing to mention here. On the Spectres, we have Perfect Warlord I mentioned, and should have them all. Yeah, Hulking Miscreation. I think the regular Hulking Miscreation is 100% as good as the perfect one, but I grabbed the perfect one anyway. That's by far the most damage increase. Forest Warrior gives the Onslaught, and the Guardian Turtle gives the defenses, the armor, and the PDR, and the Warlord gives the endurance charges. You definitely can go for the perfect Forest Tiger in this build. The haste aura and the frenzy charges will be a nice damage boost, but it's like 10 divines per tiger, and GGG did nothing about the screen clutter with the Affliction Spectres. They brought them back and did nothing about the screen clutter. There's ghost cats just crawling all over the screen and you can't see shit. The DPS increase is nice. Get it if you want. The regular Forest Tiger only gives frenzy charges, which still might be good if you really want an extra DPS Spectre, but I say screw that. I'm going to grab the turtle, and the only bad thing about the turtle is that he's slow. He fall behind. He fall too far behind for you to still be in the Determination Aura area. I believe you still keep the PDR, so it's not a huge difference, but because of that, I do link Convocation to cast when damage taken. Another thing you can do is do cast when damage taken Immortal Call, and in that case you do want Enduring Composure on your cluster, just so that you're recovering those endurance charges as fast as possible, because there's a period where Immortal Call will eat 5 of your endurance charges, and then you're super tanky for like a couple seconds, and then for a couple seconds after that you no longer have maximum endurance charges. They're building up more slowly. Or Warlord is waiting for his next time to shout in like 10 seconds, right? So there can be periods of time where you're weaker if you're using Immortal Call, so you definitely want Enduring Composure if you want to go for Immortal Call. Or you could use those two extra gem slots for something else, but I feel like convocating the turtle and the Animate Guardian closer to me, because you also get fortified from the Animate Guardian with Kingmaker. I feel like that's the smartest way to spend the 2 gems, but not the most necessary component of this build. For the other ring, just resists and try to get minion damage, dexterity. There's dexterity requirements. Oh yeah, speaking of dexterity requirements, whatever multi-link weapon you get, watch the attributes, because there were a couple I almost bought, and then I looked at the attributes and I was like, oh shit, that requires 200 dex or something like that, and that's a pain. So watch that, but you still need to get dexterity somewhere on your items. On the helmet, you just want everything you would normally want on a helmet, plus 2 minions, near implicits and resists, except for life. You want to get one without life, which in this case actually is a budget bonus. Same with the ring. And well, I think that pretty much covers it, right? Smite, Ray Spectre, Carrion Golem gives flat physical damage. Mentioned earlier why that's important. And Flame Dash, just awesome, by the way. Using the Stampede, you can Flame Dash almost as much as you want. As long as you're not just spamming it, you will always have Flame Dash when you need it. So that's a nice benefit of having Stampede. All right, and main reason I did this video is just because I'm going to go ahead and respec the build, reuse the character. The build's great, and I don't know if the next build is going to be better, but I'm going to try and make Skelly Mages good again. And that's because I finally crafted this beast. Look at this beast. It's going to use Eldritch Battery, this build, so that mages won't care at all about the mana cost. It could be huge, it won't matter. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll do another video on that. I will at least do a couple gameplay videos on the Skelly Mages, because I'm pretty sure the damage is going to be about as good as Raging Spirits. And for a couple reasons, we'll be doing Lightning Coil instead of Atula's Hunger and Replica Dragon Fang. Yeah. Which does let us do Petrified Bloods. So that should be very interesting. There'll be a lot more to say about that. And, if I was going to overall score summon Enormous Boy with the Enormous Raging Spirits, I'd say really good clear. I'd say clear would be its weakest point, and that's just because of my choice of using the Stampede. We can't zoom around. We're just pretty fast. We're never quite zooming. But boss damage is really good. The recovery, it doesn't have that kind of recovery that you can get with like tons of recoup with Petrified Blood or you know, like Aegis Aurora or huge amounts. It doesn't have that recovery that scales with incoming hits, so you can definitely die more easily than you would with a build with like Aegis Aurora or one of those like broken recovery methods. However, you do get the Minion Leech. It's not overleech, and you can keep your life flasks, and I use Soul Over Sloth, at least one of them with the bleeding corrupted blood removal. And so you can see, like, you know, recovering just fine when you need to in this build, but not OP recovery. And then just pretty damn good overall thickness, able to take pretty strong hits. And then as a minion build, you know, you're not having to take a lot of hits anyway. You're going to try to avoid most things. So being that it's a little easy to play because it's minions, you can spend your effort on dodging crap. So having a lot of fun with like uber bosses and tier 17s. I'll be honest, I still don't like tier 17s. I still think tier 17s should be unique maps, right? I don't know, what can I say about tier 17s that you haven't already heard 100 times, but I think tier 17s should just be unique maps instead of, you know, going off the Atlas tree and using scarabs. But tier 16s were great. They didn't need replaced. Whatever. I think that, yeah, that pretty much covers everything. So let me know what you think, if you have any questions or any suggestions, and hey, thanks for watching.